Welcome to Paranormal M, where stories aren't just told, they're summoned from the depths of the unseen. Every tale unravels another chilling mystery, each more haunting than the last. Don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell. You never know what might be hiding in the next episode. Paranormal or not, I'm afraid. I went into foster care at the age of 8 in 2004, and my story started the following year, 2005, I think. At this time, I didn't know about the paranormal, and I certainly didn't believe in ghosts, demons, and other things. I was in a children's home, and it was early afternoon, if I remember correctly. For some reason that day, I was left alone in the wing where I lived. I can't remember where everyone else was, though. I remember sitting on a couch that gave me a bit of a view of the hall where the bedrooms were. I remember staring off into space down the hallway. That's when I noticed a shape emerging from the room I was sleeping in. We shifted rooms every so often. It was an old porcelain doll, though she looked brand new. She had long, curly, dark brown hair, pink and white checkered patterned dress. Well, as I was watching, she darted from my room to a room opposite of mine. I remembered being terrified. Quickly ran and checked both mine and the boy's room. One other thing I recently recalled was several times things of mine would go missing only to show up in obvious places. An example would be my glasses disappearing off the glasses rack only to show up underneath the computer desk where I was accused of lying. Fast forward several years. I'm with my permanent foster family out in a ranch in the plains. Odd things again start to happen. We moved into an old farmhouse, 100 years old. It was on my foster parents' daughter and sons-in-law's land. A couple of times I would be asleep only to be awoken by what feels like someone punching my face when no one was near me. I didn't think anything odd about it at the time. It was more of an annoyance to my 12-year-old self. I'd hear voices and see shadows, but by that time I had entirely accepted that as normal. Didn't talk about that with anyone. I had begun getting into scary movies and such while my foster parents were in town overnights or late nights. I think that fed into the problem more. Fast forward to 2014. I just graduated from high school, highly depressed and highly hating my life. I'd gotten my first apartment and my first job while my friends and classmates all went to college. I began to fear the shadows and voices. At least a bit. I thought again. I told no one, not even my therapist, just accepting it as normal. I began meeting new people online, and I mentioned that I saw things to one woman who became convinced I was psychic, though I didn't and still don't really believe that. By 2016, I was becoming worried about schizophrenia. Clamped my mouth shut to anyone about my seeing and hearing things, afraid I would be labeled crazy and locked up. I met my now ex-boyfriend. I'd moved in with him in another state after the death of my foster dad. But a new development happened a few weeks after moving in. We were both asleep when I woke up. Unusual for me, as I'm a deep sleeper. I had a mini heart attack when I saw the shadow of a man standing above me, watching me. For whatever reason, I got details about him. I shouldn't know these. That's because he was blacker than the dark room. He was in his 30s or 40s, dirty brown curly hair, green eyes, and a red and white pinstripe hat, and his name was Charles. I quickly rolled over and woke my ex up whispering somebody had broken in. When I turned around, the guy was gone. One night later, we were again asleep. Dark room, and I again woke up. I saw another man standing above me, but this time the only information I got was that he was maybe older, 50s, and he was mean. Again, I panicked and I shook my ex, and the figure just disappeared again. When we woke up the next morning, I had a deep gash on my upper left arm. I now have a scar from it. Neither of us could figure out how I managed to do that. Next couple of years were filled with occasional nighttime visitors and random bruises. But then came the shadows I could see following my ex or watching me. For context, my ex is 5'9", getting ready for a fun night out. While I was sitting on the bed putting on my shoes for my peripheral, I watched my ex walk into the bathroom. Following closely behind him was a massive black shadow. I was alarmed to say the least, but I didn't say anything to my ex. Another time, I was again putting shoes on when from the spare bedroom, I saw the shape of a man materialize and peek his head around the dresser to watch me. We moved again last May to a different state. Been pretty much the same. One night I woke to see this blue glowing mist on the ceiling above me. At first I thought it was my headphones, but I quickly realized my headphones don't stay solid blue for that long. They blink blue when active. For whatever reason, I knew if I went under her, she would hurt me. While watching her closely, I darted around her and turned the light on. After years of this crap, I finally decided to tell a professional. Couldn't do it anymore. They told me I could be bipolar and they would try mood stabilizers. There really wouldn't be much they could do about the seeing things, but if the stabilizers worked, it could be bipolar with some psychosis. I am doing much better, but the seeing and hearing things has increased. I don't know what to think or feel about the paranormal, and I don't know what I want the conclusion to even be. My own experience and thoughts on various kinds of spirits. I've noticed sort of patterns with spirits. These are solely my observations, so take it with a teeny pinch of salt. We'll start with the more intimidating ones. Demons. Pretty sure some of you might have gotten scared of hearing or encountering one. While I'm not an expert on them, I can say that while they're not beginner-friendly to work with, they're not evil per se, just dangerous. Now let me elaborate on that. There are dangerous spirits out there, some that may want to do you harm. Now here's the thing, they're self-aware of this. They can also choose to show mercy if they see fit as well. And it's possible to even work with them too. They're like sharks in a sense. If you're careful and you know what you're doing, you'll have a better experience. While if you fuck with them, well, it's your own fault at that point. Another thing with demons is culture matters, folklore matters. Always do your research in spirits in general, but especially with demons, as some demons are more demanding than others. Some want an offering, while others just want to be left alone unless they approach you first, to which you probably should still give an offering as it's a sign of respect. Now let's step into another touchy subject. Deities. Now I don't hear any of my deity is the true deity, or that deity is evil, lol. Stop, don't do that. I want a good, clean comment section and discussion here. Now, as far as my personal beliefs go, deities are strong entities that desire to be worshipped as it gives them power so they can offer guidance and aid in return. They also choose you from birth, not the other way around. Well, isn't that cute? And again, in my views, doesn't apply to everybody else, just as not all people are going to feel a connection to certain, if any, deities whatsoever. Deities may not feel a connection to certain people as well. That's okay. However, they still should be respected as, hey, maybe you might run into them. Maybe they might have something to offer in passing. Maybe it's just a pretty nifty thing to do. I've gotten good vibes as a result from going this route as well. even with deities that I just don't feel any connection towards. Good energies and good advice still came my way. It literally costs nothing to just chill the fuck out and be nice to other people. This person's kind of funny. Also, for those of you who worship a deity, don't hesitate to just talk normally to them. You'd be surprised how receptive they actually are, and for me, I worship Ra, and I was talking to him, and I had a panic attack in front of him. He tried to calm me down from crying, and then he told a dad joke. A fucking dad joke. Yes, it was adorable. I loved it and him, and it was a nice bonding experience, and just shows that it doesn't have to be 100% all the fucking time. It can be chill and wholesome too. Now, as far for angels, there's Enochian, and then there's the then there's the Shemhamporesh angels. I can't speak on behalf of the Enochians, as I need to do more research, and I'll update accordingly if anybody's interested after I look more into them. As for the Shemhamporesh, they are the angels that most people have probably heard of. Some, such as archangels. There's 72 Shemhamporesh that each have some form of aid to offer. From my experience, they're pretty much the least judgmental of entities. Very chill, but can be firm if need be. Like a parent or teacher or therapist, basically. Well, how chill are they? One time, I played a game of telephone with them. I asked for consent first, and in the words of Joe Fiel, it was a big mess, and I shouldn't be a witch, to be honest. Also, fun fact, Aurorio is an angel that not only helps aid fishermen, but is also called upon to cure stupidity. I can't fucking make this shit up. It's funny as hell. Just Google it, and you'll get a kick. Now let's tackle one of my favorites. Fairies. These guys are not all like fucking Tinkerbell. It's also more like an umbrella term, as many spirits fall under the category of fairies, such as elves, ogres, mermaids, sprites, pixies, goblins, dwarves, and more. Many are also quite dangerous, some more so than others, but I've noticed some things here as well. There's two courts, seelie and unseelie, but there's also regions that aren't really aligned with either one. I just call them the seelie area and the unseelie area just to make it easier, basically. Seelie fairies are more playful, and kind of air of unreal beauty to them. They also prefer warmer climates, as spring and summer are their seasons. They are also very approachable for the most part, beginner-friendly. However, even the most beautiful of things can hold a great deal of danger, or at least mischief. At the very least, they might steal from you, and at the most, they can be rather frisky, or try to use you or fuck with you. If you want to work with them, leave an offering in a place of nature. Then there's unseelie fairies. These fair folk are much more beastly-like in both air and image. And I'm gonna warn you here, they don't normally like humans. And why? Well, for some it's more personal, and for others it's just because we fucking exist. But that said, it's not impossible to work with them. You just gotta be patient, respectful, and leave a gift. If you're lucky enough to befriend them, they're fiercely loyal and protective. They'll be more than ready to fuck up a besh if anybody fucks with you. A besh. I'm learning. Needless to say, I had to tell my companions no a lot, and these days they know me well enough to ask me first, make sure I'm okay, and go from there, so it's pretty nice. Well, that was an experience. And sorry if I'm loopy, still have a fever. That excuse is gonna get old, but it is what it is. A series of dreams about a demon. Some other times it would be serene. I would be sitting on a log in a clearing in a forest, next to the remnants of the chimney, converse with an unseen force. I would feel no ill will, no malicious intent, only a faint feeling of joy. Upon moving away from my childhood home due to personal matters that I do not wish to discuss, I stopped having the dreams and nightmares. I moved out when I was 16. I'm now edging up on 26 years with a wife and 2 kids. Congratulations. And we recently moved into a new house. As an intermission, I did have a dream about this entity once when I was in the military. It came in a series of dreams. This is the only dream I can actually remember bits of this demon. So, here are the bits I remember. The series started with me hanging out with a group of kids. We appeared to be homeless, and I didn't recognize any of the kids' faces that I was with, nor did I recognize any of the environment we were residing. There was one particular girl in the group that I felt a strong attachment to. Something like I needed to protect her. However, in the second dream, me and the boys of the group were playing basketball. Which is pretty weird because I'm definitely not a sportsy type. That's when I got a weird, overwhelming feeling that something was wrong. I immediately ran off to try to find the girl I felt protective of. I looked everywhere. Couldn't find her. For some reason, I decided to check out an abandoned library, where deep in a narrow corridor I found the familiar chimney in a room that looks like a typical long-abandoned building. As in, there was a hole, like, rotted through, the rough debris everywhere from the ceiling, caving in, old books scattered everywhere, etc. As soon as I stepped into the room, there was a violent shake, as well as a loud scream before more of the roof collapsed and killed me, again causing me to wake up sweating in the real world. Now recently, I've been having dreams with the same feeling of dread I felt at the beginning when I moved into my childhood home, so I know I'm being visited by this entity again. Not really sure why I'm boasting this. I guess it's more or less something interesting to read rather than how to dispel it. As of right now, I'm not really concerned about it, since I have mentioned before, it pretty much successfully killed me numerous times now. However, since it was in a dream and my brain doesn't know how to really process death, I just wake up. I sometimes hear whistling outside. I live in the suburb, and for context, and the closest major city near me is Manhattan, so I'm not located in a secluded or low-populated area. That being said, I've been hearing the same whistling for a couple of months now. It's not extremely common, but it happens enough times where I've noticed it. It also, conveniently for the scare factor, only happens at night or early in the morning. The whistle itself starts off high-pitched and then goes down. It sort of repeats itself over and over again. Sounds breathy, if that helps to visualize it. It's clearly not from an object, it's from something that's alive. Now that I'm writing this, it's most likely some kind of bird, but still sounds creepy to me. First time I heard it was during 2-3 a.m.-ish. The whistle itself was accompanied by the sound of somebody walking by my window, and I do remember it becoming quieter the further it walked by. Walked, in air quotes. It still scared me shitless because it came out of nowhere. But the reason I'm writing this is because I encountered the noise last night while I was outside. My house is across from a park. And most suburb parks are just an open field with one playground and a basketball court. The park itself is spacious and open, but again, not that huge. I have this habit of going on the swings when I'm bored during the day and night while I listen to music. So the music on my phone cuts out and then I hear it. It sounded the same as it did when it was near my window, and even at the same volume. got off the swing, sped back up to my house, but now that I'm looking back on it, I don't remember hearing it again after getting off the swings. I'm just curious as to what the people on here might think it is. Really hoping it's just some cool bird I've never heard of before, but if it's not, then... Clarification on childhood Ouija experience. My neighbor was 4 years older than me. She always had me over to her house to hang out. She even was kind of a babysitter for me a lot of the time. One day, she had another friend her age over and myself over. She had a Ouija board and said she was going to talk to ghosts or something like that. Apparently, she had done this before because it seemed she knew exactly how to set up the area. She lit a bunch of little disc-shaped candles, had the lights off, and we all sat onto her bed, which was against a wall. I'm a little hazy on specifics, but after asking a few questions, who's here, why you're talking to us, and then more advanced ones, I can't remember what she asked, I swear the Ouija board started to move across her bed and up the wall. We still had our hands on this sort of sight glass thing as somehow the whole assembly worked its way into the wall and started rubbing vigorously against the wall. She'd turned the lights on, blew out the candles, and the board stopped and fell to the bed. I remember her dad flipping out the next day. That's because the board left a huge black imprint on the wall. He had to paint it. Who knows? Maybe it was just her and her friend playing an elaborate prank on me. She never told me in the years I knew her it was a prank, and we're no longer in touch. But I'm considering asking her more about it by sending her a Facebook message sometime. Has anybody else had Ouija experiences like this? She also did these strange mind games with me, where I would close my eyes and she would rub my temples while saying something like, "You see doors in front of you. Pick one, go inside. You see blank, blank, blank. You do, etc., etc." I might do etc., but I don't know about etc. Kitchen ghost is back, along with others. A while back, I think I wrote about how I heard voices when I was home alone in my kitchen. That was after staying with friends for the night. It was basically that the friends I had stayed with for the night had been having paranormal experiences for months, mostly hearing disembodied voices in their kitchen. Then I found out that they had taken many things from a haunted place that we had gone to together once. The night after, I'm home alone and I heard voices in my own kitchen, to the point where I thought my mom had come home and was speaking to my grandma in the driveway. She didn't come home until hours later. Recently, probably around 10 p.m. at night, I was down in the kitchen making myself a super late dinner. That's when I turn around, and seconds later, I hear something slam onto the floor behind me. It was a wrench, and this wrench was on the counter literally moments before, pushed back nowhere near the edge. It was now on the floor and didn't look like it had fallen. Looked like somebody had swiped it off the counter from how far it went. If it had just slipped off, it wouldn't be as far away from the counter as it was. It was heavy, and wrenches don't bounce. There have also been multiple instances in the past couple of months where I'll be taking a bath. I'll audibly hear something moving in the room with me. The bathroom is really small. It holds the sink, the tub, the toilet, and that's about it. I could hear shuffling on the floor next to me. Of course, I go to look and nothing is there, not even a fly. I've also been hearing really, really loud banging on my bedroom door. So loud it makes me jump. When I open it, no one's there, and when I ask my family members if they knock, they all say no. Half of the time it happens, I'm the only one upstairs. I don't know. I just think it's weird that the paranormal activity in my house has been picking up in the last couple of months. Spirit box session with my girlfriend really changed my view of the paranormal. Just had an awesome session. Bought a spirit box, a PSB-7T, which has a built-in temperature measurement device. Basically, it makes sound according to how big of a difference there is and lights up and flickers red, like an increase in temperature or blue being a decrease. The bedroom, only me and my girlfriend, the windows open, could feel the cold air on my feet, the spirit box on my lap. Asked for an increase in temperature and it delivered. Had some intelligent responses during the whole circa 3 hours. A lot of them really personal. We're sort of a new couple, being 6 months, and it's really possible that we were talking to my girlfriend's great-grandma. She said, "Write it down." My girlfriend told me to open notes on my phone. I did, and the same voice said, "Sign-personal stuff I didn't know about my girlfriend's family." The LED was glowing red for a solid 2 minutes, and after a while, I asked for blue light. After no more than 10 minutes, it was glowing blue. A male voice even said, "There's a draft." So I closed the window and soon after blew again. Before all of this, we went to a basement, all flats in this building share. My girlfriend was previously uneasy and felt like being watched, and there's dark energy in there. Around 5 months ago, I tried an EVP session in there. Didn't get a single strange, noise or voice, but today I had headphones, not being able to hear a single voice around me. A deep male voice, mostly heard and after asked, said the name Cuba, which is Jacob in my language. Said this multiple times. Once even said, "Behind you." Circa 2 minutes after that, my girlfriend freaked out and repeatedly told me to get the fuck out of the basement, not even explaining why. I myself kind of freaked out and we ran out. While closing the door, the same deep voice said, "And I swear to God, don't go," followed by a woman half screaming help. Then she told me she saw something dark and heard a growl behind me. I predicted future with my dreams. So many weird things going on with my life. I don't know where to start. But since nobody would really believe me, I only told these to my close friends and they witnessed it themselves. I sometimes see very vivid dreams about future. It always happens. What I see is a chart of planets, a straight line that has many rounds and many small planets that are opening around those rounds. There's little ticks on the line, and that represents the time. The color and brightness of the stars represent the event and probability. When I see these dreams, I usually know when something will happen. Below are some examples. Asterisks. I used to breed fish when I was in high school. One day I saw the fishes fly in the room and the space chart showed around 1 week. I saw black and red stars and 7 ticks. Exactly after 7 days, all of them died because of chlorine. My father changed their water without checking. Saw the same dream some months later, but this time I didn't let anybody change anything. Then again, after 7 days, the fish jumped out of the fish tank and died. This happened so many times, whatever I did, I couldn't save the fish. One day I saw 3 ticks with water planet in my dream. At that time, my village had a drought problem. People gathered to pray for rain, and I told them it would flood after 3 days. Nobody cared. After 3 days, it flooded for the first time in my village. When somebody makes me sad or mad, terrible things happen to him. It's almost like something is taking revenge for me. For example, I used to feed kittens under the apartment. One day a man complained to me and yelled at me saying cats are dirty. and that they would shit everywhere. Plausible. That was really sad, since they are people who do not help but bother others helping kittens. Also fair. Poor animals were hungry and screaming and begging. After a while, that man had a stroke, and now he's paralyzed. Can't move his legs or arms. When I was in the university, somebody borrowed money from me and didn't pay. Basically scammed me. We argued in front of everyone. Then one day, he'd run into trouble with locals and he was beaten, sent to jail, and all of his stuff was stolen. He was deported from the country. There's many examples like this. Every time somebody hurts my feelings, something serious happens to them. Some of my friends witnessed this, and now they're too scared to talk to me. I gotta stop judging this guy's grammar. I saw the young grandpa in my dream. Never saw him in real life. Never saw his picture. Told my father that he looked exactly like one of my uncles. And I had many uncles. He was shocked. He saw when he was young he looked exactly like him, but it was impossible for me to know. In my dream, he asked for some bean soup. He was happy when I gave it to him. Still don't know what it meant, since I didn't see any planet chart. I met many people in events and saw 2 people in my dream with huge bright stars. I told them about it and told them that they would be very famous within some years. And both of them are famous now. I have Asian eyes, but I was born in the Middle East. I saw the space chart in my dream. It showed 3 bright stars with red and black, 1 bright white star at the background, while star was much bigger. The chart showed around 14 planets, which meant 14 years. I was 4 years old when I saw this dream. And in my dream, I was in China. I was missing my country. I remember my future face, body, and hair very clearly. Exactly when I was 18 years old, I ended up in China studying Chinese. And at that point, I didn't remember the dream at all. After I arrived in China, I remembered the dream. Didn't understand those 3 bad stars. Then, 3 years after I arrived, China, horrible things happened, proving the stars. In my dream, I was running away from monsters with long hair and muscular body. When I was 4 years old, this made me very scared. I looked very strong, but I was still running away. When I graduated, I just left China. I was powerlifting, had long hair for the first time, and it was exactly like I saw in my dream when I was 4. Sometimes I have extremely bad luck for many days from day to night. After having multiple bad luck, I get on one miracle in return. That miracle is always something that saves me from an important disaster. For example, I changed a company and I was going to greet the customers for the first time. That day, the subway suddenly stopped working. Exactly the only time I should not get late, I got late. When I arrived after a long time, the bus went to the wrong airport. This also happened for the first time. After the bus arrived and we took the customers, driver fell down, broke his arm. That week was disaster after disaster. Then the next job I had required me to take some tickets from a friend. Supposed to meet in another city, but her plane time and check-in door was the same that morning. Later we realized the message was wrong. Gave me the tickets, and if our plane was not the same time and place, I would not get the tickets and it would be a disaster for me. Same day, same hour, 2 doors next to each other. These super coincidences almost always happen after multiple bad luck days. So when I have some bad luck days, I know it's charging energy to save me from a disaster again. My luck always tries to stop me from whatever I want. For example, my dream was to win a taekwondo competition. My teacher told me I would be a world champion. I was exceptionally talented and managed to beat black belts with only 3 months of training. Then as soon as I prepared for a competition, I had to have a surgery. I had surgeries such as appendicitis, kidney, stomach, nose, and tonsil. I had 6 surgeries in total, and all of them when I prepared for a competition. After 6 surgery, I was too scared to join a competition. didn't want to go to the hospital again. It was totally unrelated, and I did not go to gym for some years. One day, I decided to try again. Thought it was just a coincidence, and then as soon as I prepared to join a competition, I got hospitalized again. I was told to take a surgery. I'm over 30 years old now, and I'm still scared to join competitions. That's because whenever I try, I either have an accident, an illness, or an urgent thing happens. Whenever I study or work for a dream, this also happens. Also, whenever I try to meet a girl, always embarrassing accidents happen or I receive urgent work. Life does not want me to achieve anything and get close to anyone. I must feel like my life is a game and a jealous person is controlling it. I saw a dream about a friend. She had no job or purpose that time. I told her she would find a job and have friends if she went to a certain country. He went there, and as soon as she returned, she found a job and had new friends. She witnessed many things, so she believes me. I can know if a good or bad thing will happen after a while, and how serious it'll be. Before COVID, I also saw a dream that I would quit my job for a long time. Within a month, after about a month, Corona happened. The size, color, shape of the planets, and number of the ticks gave me time, and I see a brief dream about the details. Then it happens. There's only 2 dreams I remember now from past. I would marry when I'm 35 and die at 90. It's been a long time since I saw this kind of dream. 8 months ago was the last one I saw myself as a student with 6 planets. Then exactly after 6 months, I was accepted by a university for a master's degree. So many other things I want to write. I can write hundreds of dreams and coincidences. My close friends anyways want me to write a book about it, but I simply don't have time for that. I just wonder if there's a way to break this luck curse on me. I trend Asian temples, churches, and mosques. Tried every religion, chants, charms I saw. So far, nothing changed it. If anybody's experiencing similar things, or if anybody has a suggestion, please tell me. Especially curious about the space chart. Happens tens of times and worked 100% of the time. Any suggestion would help. At a party, we had a shared and weird feeling and experience. We're not quite sure why. Yesterday, I was over at one of my best friends. I was at their house for a birthday party. All went well, nothing out of the ordinary, except somebody arriving later than we planned, but we're all sitting on couches and chairs around a normal-sized table. There were 2 people on a couch that could fit 3 people. The other seatings were all taken. At one point, a friend tried to get a game working and stood up to fix something with his Switch while standing. My back was facing basically the whole open house as we were all sitting in the living room, in which I was facing the other people at the window. Just before the dude starts fixing his Switch, I got a feeling that we were missing someone, which we were. But the friend missing was arriving later, so we hadn't seen him yet, but something felt off. I had thought that somebody behind me was busy in the house and could arrive any time to sit with us again. For some reason, it seemed logical to me for that person to sit with 3 people already on a couch. This didn't make sense as there's no place for anyone and we were not waiting for anyone that we already saw. At a certain point, I thought it might have been the sertraline I'd been taking for a few months. Maybe they have a weird side effect. Sometimes I feel like I see black spots from the corner of my eye, seemingly random since I started the medicine. Just brushed it off and I was thinking nothing of it, but the feeling that we were missing someone just kept persisting. After 2 or 3 hours, the friend arrives and I thought the feeling would just go away as everybody was here now. But it stayed. And I genuinely kept thinking we were missing a person when pouring drinks or when we were deciding on a movie. After a few more hours, I got a bit annoyed with the feeling and just asked out loud if I was the only one. As it turned out, 3 other guys had the exact same feeling. They thought they must be imagining stupid things. At a certain point, we just thought about people that we maybe missed, inviting, and maybe, but nope, we couldn't figure it out. After that, we tried to use a makeshift Ouija board, but nothing came of it, but the feeling did persist for me, at least. When I got home, got a good sleep, I still kept thinking about how weird of a coincidence this was, but then I thought that maybe it could be something explainable. Paranormal experience from a skeptic. When I was about 8 years old, I slept on the top of a bunk bed. I would wake up in the early hours when everyone was sleeping, and across the room, only about 6 feet away, I would clearly see the silhouette of a man. The silhouette was so dark you couldn't distinguish any features at all. It just stood there. It was directly opposite where my head was on the bed. At first, I wasn't particularly freaked out. I think I must have reasoned it was my dad in the absence of any other explanation. This happened night after night, for weeks, really, and after a while I reasoned it wasn't my dad and started to become a little unnerved. So I began sleeping with my head at the other end of the bed. But the figure moved too, so it was always opposite where my head was positioned on the bed, and still no real feeling of ill intention or anything like that at all during these experiences. But still, it was understandably becoming a little bit scary. After some time, I told my mom what was happening. Not sure she believed me, but just to comfort me, she said it was probably Jesus watching over me. We aren't a religious family at all, but as I say, I think she just assumed I was dreaming or had an overactive imagination and just said this to offer a benevolent explanation. At some point after that, the next experience I had was very different. This time I saw the figure, but it was a dream and a very vivid one, but certainly a dream. It started exactly the same as usual, but this time I asked the figure if it was Jesus. The figure then lunged toward me, shouting or roaring at me, and then I woke up. After that, I never saw it again. I did continue living there, in the same bedroom for years after. Nothing ever happened again. In my teens, I spoke to my mom about it again, and she didn't remember me telling her about it at that time. I don't think she really gave it much thought at the time. But she did say that when I was very young, just about old enough to string a sentence together, and in that same bedroom, I had an imaginary friend who I described at the time as a boy my own age who looked like me. One day he said he had to leave as he had a pain here and gestured a hand to his heart. After which I told my mom at the time I never saw him again. My mom had a younger brother who died age 6. He looked like me and my brothers when we were his age. He died during heart surgery to correct a congenital heart defect. Thought that might be an interesting story to share here. Never had any kind of experience since we kind of describe as being remotely paranormal, but believe it or not, I'm actually a skeptic. Whilst I can't quite explain these experiences, which to me even today seem as real as anything, I can't quite believe that this was a paranormal occurrence. What else, pray tell? Creepy, folkish, loud music, almost like a celebration or party from another time. Tonight was a weird and fun night. That's because I saw 2 shooting stars. I've never seen shooting stars my entire life. Me and my sister were stargazing in our garden. The night was just absolutely breathtaking. But right around 2:50 a.m. we heard strange celebratory music. It didn't have any lyrics. It felt like it was happening right next to us or was coming from somewhere in our house. It sounded like a large group of people celebrating, but in a very weird, cult freak kind of way. The whole night in general was full of weird appearances, but that was because of the sky, and it didn't really induce anxiety in me at all. But this shit show music literally scared the fuck out of me. And I listened to all music. Oh, okay, fuck with folk music. This sounded like Tiptoe Around the Window by the Windmill Oh Ho. And no, it wasn't actually that song, but it follows these type of chords, but it's even creepier and lacks lyrics. It was also more rowdier, very vintagey with a hint of classical. The second my sister said, "Get my phone and record it," I started recording. The music literally stopped, the crowd after stopping, and then went, "Oh, ah," which sounded like the music when I managed to capture. Thank God, literally the only proof I have, and, well, say if there was a party occurring elsewhere in one place with that much noise, it'd be constant, right? Wouldn't just play one song, have thunderous clapping and cheering, and then just stop. And it seemed strange to me somebody in my neighborhood would be having a party till 3 a.m. on a Saturday night with creepy folk music with no lyrics. I don't see anything wrong with that. I tried looking for somebody online who might have had the same experience, but God, I couldn't find nothing. So just wanted to put this out there. In general, my house has had many paranormal experiences, like shit breaking, a whole ass room shaking, and other strange shit. Potty mouth. Children know things. My 6-year-old daughter has always shared things to us. Sometimes creepy, mostly like, what the fuck, how'd she know this? Don't know if this belongs here, but would love to hear from others about their experiences. Here are a few examples of my daughter being herself. Age 2. Just found out I was pregnant and I'd only told my husband. I didn't want to tell my daughter because I had miscarried before and didn't want her to get excited. One evening, we're eating dinner. My daughter turns to me and says, "There's a baby in your belly." My eyes go big and turn to my husband, and I asked if he told her. He swears he didn't, and I asked her if it was a boy or a girl, and she responded, "It's a boy, but I wanted a girl." Sure enough, her baby brother arrived safe and sound 9 months later. The thing that gets me is that she told everybody at daycare. I was a bit nervous in case I would miscarry again. Then one day at daycare, she turned to her teacher and said, "There's a baby in your belly too." She laughed and said, "Nope, that's your mom, not me." However, a week later, her teacher comes to me and said that she was pregnant and asked my daughter if it was a boy or a girl. Daughter said girl, and welp, she had a girl. Age 5. My mom had a history of heart attacks. One day she went to the ER thinking she may be having one. Turned out that it was an AFib. I was a nervous wreck in the morning, but was fine in the afternoon once I heard she'd be okay. Went to pick up my daughter from school. She was balancing on a table and fell backward, but was fine. Picked her up and said, "It was more scary than anything, right?" My daughter responded with, "Yeah, but you know what's scarier? Oma dying." I'm like, "Why did you say that?" I didn't tell her my mom went to the hospital and we don't even see her often. She was like, "I don't know." Went on her merry way. Age 6 last night, my husband was putting her to bed. Came down and told me right before she fell asleep, she turned to him and went, "Have you ever been on a haunted train?" My husband was like, "No." I asked why. That freaked him out, and he showed me a text from 30 minutes earlier from his sister sharing a link to a ghost train Groupon. Told that we should get used to it by now, but sometimes she still gets us. Paranormal experience at a missionary house. 7 years ago, I was a pest control tech. I was scheduled to do a routine service at a missionary house on the grounds of a large church. It was a typical single-family home a few hundred yards away from the church, but not within line of sight. Also, it was in an open field about 50 yards from the main road. There was nothing unusual about the house or its location. I went to the church to get the key door, or the door key, and was told the house was not currently being used. Drove over to the house to start the service. Went in through the back door and in the kitchen and announced my presence as per normal, if you think that no one's in there. As expected, there was no response. Went into the basement to start spraying. I worked from the bottom floor up, so the plan was to start at the basement and search each floor up to walk up to the attic, or rather, service each floor. Basement service is normal, so I go back up to the main floor. When I entered the kitchen again, every single cabinet and drawer is open. I freeze in place and announce my presence again, no response. I think it's weird, but I continue spraying the main floor. As I'm walking the main floor, all the hairs on my body start to stand up. I finish quickly, go to the stairs to head up. I get to the third step and I get a feeling of dread and decide not to finish. So I go back out to my truck. Once outside, my nerves settle, so I get my backpack sprayer to start the exterior. The entire time I'm treating the exterior, I have a feeling someone's watching me. My hairs start to stand up again. Check all the windows and as I go around, but I didn't see anyone or anything unusual. Cry beneath the floorboards. I've been stressed the past few weeks. My mind is in deep thought over what happened during winter last year. I'm no stranger to hearing or seeing ghosts. Of course, I never felt a reason to tell anyone my experiences because there's always uncertainty behind what is seen or heard. Like what-ifs. I'm from Texas. At the time, I lived inside a house that had no central cooling. Temperature of the house being the outside temperature, or at least close to it. During last winter, it had been freezing inside. The weeks before that day, I kept hearing what sounded like someone calling my name throughout the house whenever no one was home. My parents had just left to the store for groceries. Well, I felt a little uncomfortable being alone due to hearing a voice calling my name. I thought, what's the worst that could happen? I hear my voice being called? Well, I'll go look, see nothing, watch TV, and simple, I thought. They left the house, and the house temperature felt extremely cold. So I laid back in the recliner, and put on a classic movie, covered myself in a blanket while wearing pajamas and a sweater, comfortable as I could be. I remember feeling sleepy after getting comfortable. Getting chills writing this, to be honest. Then it happened. I heard a guy's voice calling my name. I pumped myself up and I said, "Let's do this." Got up, walked around the house. It's daylight outside, by the way. Snowing, too. I saw something like, well, nothing like I'd even expected. However, how could I get comfortable again knowing, like, once I relax, I would hear something? We've all seen the movies where the person relaxes and thinks, I can let my guard down. And then everything goes downhill. I made a deal with myself. I'll record myself sleeping. Either nothing will happen, or I'll fall asleep, or I'll finally record it to show my parents I'm not crazy. It's a win-win deal. Sadly, the outcome was what I hoped wouldn't happen. Put my phone to a table that's used for drinks near the recliner. Set it to record myself on the couch. Slowly drifted off into sleep thinking nothing will happen while it's recording. I woke up what seemed to be a half an hour later to a loud crying from a woman's voice. Me being drowsy looked around to find the source of the noise. There was a hole beside the recliner. Sounds weird, but the owner didn't, lay the floorboard down correctly, so it eventually broke. We put a temporary board over the broke part, but it left a little hole because it didn't fit exactly. The crying was coming from beside me. Oh my gosh. And in the exact direction of the hole. I looked directly at it, realizing what's happening. Jumped straight up and backed away in shock. The sound faded, and I questioned if what I had just heard could have been me waking from a lingering dream. The only way to confirm it is to check the recording still going. Collected my phone from the table and paused the recording. Thoughts ran through my mind while getting my headphones to listen closely. 1, I'm going to hear nothing and realize it was a lingering dream. Sit back down and laugh off my paranoia. 2, I'll hear and confirm a dreading truth. Went outside and didn't exactly feel comfortable inside anymore. Temperature was around 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, I know it's probably not that cold to some, but in Texas it's normally 100 and 110. Even the power went out a few times during winter for a good part of Texas. They're not really prepared for snowy weather. I sat in the porch, headphones on, fast-forwarding the video until I saw myself wake up and rewound it a few more minutes before I see the truth. My heart was racing with anxiety, and in the video I slept like normal. Then a noise came into the audio. It sounded like an eerie whine that became louder until the audio started cutting in and out like distortion. In the video, I woke up to the noise and looked around with sleepy eyes before looking at the floor and jumped up. I got chills, and writing this now, and it's 4 a.m., I have goosebumps everywhere. Waited outside in the freezing cold, waiting for my parents to come home. Didn't want to go back inside, and what I did next, I'll have to explain my reasoning. I've been through a lot. Near-death experiences plenty. Poverty, an abusive father, and terminally ill mother. Yes, the parent I have is my stepfather. Calmed down, went back inside. Went to the living room where it happened and closed my eyes. My brother passed away when I was a teenager. Sometimes, when I'm going through hard times, I'll speak to him as if he hears me. I said, "Brother, I don't know what to do. I'm hearing noises and it's weighing on my mind. I can't sleep or relax even in daylight. I finally have proof it's not inside my head. Love you and miss you. I'll keep trying." Feeling more relaxed, I started to make a prayer. I am Christian, but I'd be lying if I said I followed my religion to every word. I'm not 100% on who or what God is or what religion is, so I pray, pouring my heart out, hoping God understands my ignorance and guides me from my trouble. I said in my prayer, "Please give me guidance. I understand people die, and I'm not sure how death works." The crying I heard sounded like a woman in sorrow. It scared me at first. All I could do is pray. Not for my own fear, but to show whatever it is guidance and love. Lead it from darkness into light so it ceases to suffer any longer. I took a deep breath, opened my eyes. No longer felt worried. My heart felt at peace, and I realized sometimes fear is from ignorance of not knowing how it works. I hear a scary crying, and I think instantly of fear and ghost videos and scary movies and death. Never think how it must feel to be stuck to a house or feel alone in some dark place. Family member or friend, neighbor to somebody at one point. Writing this now, I don't feel stressed anymore. The scariest ghost experience I had in Bali Island. So in the summer of 2018, a group of friends of mine invited me to a trip to Bali, Indonesia. Ended up being a trip of 6 women and 6 men. Knew around half of the people beforehand, and I got to know the rest during the trip. We went around the island, ate great food, enjoyed the views and culture, and we were all in our early to mid-20s back then, so we would always end the night with a night out at a bar or nightclub. I believe it was the 3rd night in the island. After the night out, we were in a group of 4 or 5, and we got a cab and headed back to our villa separately, due to us not all fitting in one vehicle. I was one of the people that arrived in the villa latest. Believed it was approximately 2 a.m. when I arrived. My roommate and some friends decided that they were going to go to bed first, but I wanted to have a cigarette prior to getting ready to pass out in my room. Before going further to the story, in order to make the story more clear to whoever's reading, thank you, I need to tell you about the layout of the villa. The villa's estate is rectangular. When you enter, you see an outdoor kitchen and somewhat of a living room that's outdoors, including a few couches and a TV and the statue of a Buddha. Yeah, weird. Not really. Then there's a pool, which next to it has 6 glass doors that lead into 6 different rooms. So you could open your room door and take 4 steps to dive into the pool. Now, the real story starts from the deciding to have a cigarette part. And for the record, I was not too intoxicated nor too tipsy at this moment. I decided to light up a cigarette in front of my room door, and I was looking around the ambient view of the pool and the living room space. My living room space was darker than the pool. Then I saw a shape of a girl sitting on the couch. She was looking the opposite direction of me. Thus, I was looking at the back of her head. And at this point, I didn't think anything weird and thought it was one of the girls that stayed in the villa with me. Then I got a chill all over my body. That's because I didn't recognize her hair with all the girls that were in the villa. In this moment, for some stupid reason, I decided not to freak out and just felt like I wanted to show I wasn't scared of this random girl, ghost, or spirit. Wasn't sure if this was a ghost of a random girl that broke in, and I decided to finish smoking the rest of the cigarette, and I threw it in approximately 5-foot direction of her. That's when I was done, which was a bad decision. Then I opened my room door and saw my roommate already asleep, and for some reason I was able to fall asleep quite shortly. I don't usually get sleep paralysis, maybe once prior to this trip. Fell asleep in a position where my face was half in the pillow and half out, an angle that I could see my roommate. Then woke up and I couldn't move my body. The first sense was my sight. Then I realized I couldn't move. Then realized I felt something on my cheeks. It was a black, straight hair on my cheeks, and I could only move my eyeballs. This was the most chills and panic that I ever felt in my life as I tried to see what was by my side, bawling my eyes as much as I could. Then I saw a face that was also side-bawling to stare at me. I was dying inside, my heart was beating like crazy, and I think that was a girl ghost also knew that I was pissing my pants. Then the killer act was she almost screamed her laugh with her mouth directly in my ears, like ha 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 ha, rapidly with the highest pitched laugh I've ever heard. I didn't know what to do, but it was like my body was in fight or flight mode. Somehow managed to ball my fist, and then the rest of my body woke up. I was screaming like, what the Woke up to my roommate and some people in the villa, and there's nothing that was on top of me when I woke up. I'm assuming that's good. Had my first paranormal experience in a while. Currently, I'm home alone. Parents are out hanging out with friends. Brother is back at college, sister is sleeping over at a friend's house. Girlfriend and friends came over for swimming. Friends left roughly an hour ago. Girlfriend left roughly 30 minutes ago. Well, during the party cool-down phase, basically everybody drying off, I noticed the light on in my sister's room. I had to go upstairs anyway to grab some dry clothes, so I flipped off her light in the way. I know I flipped it off because she was having a blue nightlight thing that stays on during the night. I remember seeing its glow when the light turned off. Went to my room, changed, and walked out seeing it on. Thought to myself, maybe I didn't hit the switch right before. So I reached around the corner to turn off the light. So I went in, turned off the light, and made sure it was off. Went downstairs, said goodbyes, girlfriend helped clean up the pool area, and that's when I saw it on again. Me and girlfriend both went upstairs, and we both saw the light turn off. So she left after a few more minutes. I went into the living room to watch TV. You can see my entire backyard from the living room, except like 4 side areas. I looked out and noticed the fence opening up, and it's a sliding fence, which wasn't bizarre and happens a lot because it's kind of slanted. Went outside to go close the fence and put the hook up on it to keep it shut. As I'm walking back, I look up and guess what? Light is on again, and I see it shaking. I go back in, go upstairs, and see every possible light is in her room. Her vanity mirror, the LED speakers, the closet lights. And her main light with the fan was going so fast I thought it was about to fall off the ceiling. I turn everything off, leave the room. Not 2 seconds later, I hear the click again. I yell, "Fucking hell." Turn around, see the light on again. Reached around to flip it off, saying "stop" loudly, and as I reached around, I feel a moist, ragged hand over the light. Thought my sister was pulling a prank and went around, nothing was there. Turned off the light, closed the door. If that light is still on right now, so be it. I once had a weird occurrence in my younger days. I had a weird occurrence once when I was a teenager, maybe about 15 or 16. I really don't remember. Sometime in the mid-2000s, I think. Spent most of my early to late teenage years in a small town called Cresco in Iowa. So let me set the scene of this story. I woke up early one cold Sunday morning. It was still dark out, about 5-something in the morning to get ready for my paper route job. Got all my stuff ready and into my courier bags to set out on my route, leaving my house to start the job. Once I left my house, I started to walk down the sidewalk to the corner of the intersection to cross the street in order to get to the next street over to head north. I have to pass a large 3-story building that I believe used to be an old school at one time. It's now just used for storage and whatnot for the fitness center that's attached to it, so that's to my right, and a few houses and an alleyway to my left. I had a weird feeling that something was wrong. I look over to the opening of the alleyway, and I saw the weirdest and most creepiest thing ever. Underneath the lamppost, illuminated by the light, was a puddle of darkness. I have no idea what it was, ooze or something. I know it wasn't water, and it moved and rippled like it, but it wasn't. I just stared at it for maybe a few seconds and was like, nope, not today. Just walked away from the area to do my job. Returned like a half hour later while it was still dark out and wasn't there anymore. Like, what the hell was it? A figment of my imagination? A doorway to hell? Ooze from another world? I don't know. Cresco had a strange and fucked up bouts of weirdness going on in that small town. I'm just looking to find answers about it. Once asked a self-proclaimed paranormal investigator about it, and they said it was probably a doorway to something, or a creature. Well, those are wildly different things. Paranormal experiences that I've had throughout my life. For the first, my mother is the one who told me the story. And for your information, I'm 16 now. When I was about 2 or 3 years old, Hurricane Ike happened, so my mom and I had to move back with my grandmother. I'd been in this house since then, with occasional moves, but that's not the point. The point is what happened during the time in my life that I don't remember. First thing that happened is we all just moved in, and my mother and I was speaking to somebody in the play area. But there was no one there. She asked me who I was talking to, and she told me I had said I'm talking to a friend, Billy. He's a little boy with no face. For some context, my older cousin and a family friend had both seen a ghost with the same description around the house. So they knew what I was talking about, but I was the one who named him in a way. How my older cousin saw him was before bed. He was laying down, and he asked my grandmother who was a little boy that was standing in the bathroom doorway. But there was no one there. He gave her the same description. A little boy with no face. I don't remember what happened with the family friend. All I know is she never came back to the house. Another thing that had happened was a different spirit. I was in the living room, and my mom and grandma went in the other room. We were the only ones in the house, and they told me when they came back all the pictures on the wall were turned backwards. These pictures were in places a 2-year-old couldn't possibly reach. Turned around within a short 5-minute. Maybe they left me alone, and they asked me what had happened, and I just said it was the tall man. They were freaked out by this. Another family friend of ours had stayed the night in the living room one night. She saw somebody standing behind the curtain. She, too, never came back to the house after that. Very recently, though, about around the time quarantine had started, I was outside with my uncle's dog. I was about to go in when I saw one of the blinds in my grandma's bathroom go up, as if somebody was peeking out at me. I looked, and after a couple of seconds, it slowly went back down like somebody had done it. Thought it was Grandma checking on me, but the room was pitch black, and it turns out there was no one near that bathroom when it happened. And to this day, I'm convinced it was either the tall man or Billy. One more thing. Back in 2018, about a month after my great-grandmother passed away, sleeping in the living room alone one night. For context, she was put into home hospice in the house at what is now our new play area for my little cousin. I was about to fall asleep, and after I knew everybody else had gone to bed, and out of nowhere, I heard somebody whisper my name over the play area. It spooked me pretty hard because it sounded like my great-grandmother. I don't know what it is to this day, but now every time I use a spirit box in my living room, I hear a little boy say very seriously, "On the left." On the left of the living room was the play area behind the chimney where my granny passed. And this is a lot, but it all really happened. I felt connections to spirits as I heard these things, and since these things happened to me, it's kind of a big scramble. But it's not a hoax. Just a lot for me to put into words. Unfortunately, I can give no physical evidence, but I do hope that one day I'll be able to give something. Hope you enjoyed hearing about my experience. Past father called me on phone. To give some backstory, my father passed away back in 2008, so when I was 14. He had a flip phone, and his voicemail was him saying his name, Dan Crouch. When he passed away, he kept his cell phone on so we could call it and hear his voice. One day, my mom purchased me a cell phone. She wanted the phone tech guy to transfer my dad's voicemail sound onto my phone. He said it transferred over, but we found out later it didn't. The flip phone was handed into the phone store, so we lost the recording of his voice. Backstory over. Fast forward to 2015. I found a woman I fell in love with. We hung out all day, every day. Never left her house for at least a week. But one day when I spent the night at her place, we're both laying in bed, and she's cleaning out her voicemails. She had about 10 or so. After she deletes a few, the voicemail says, "The following message will be deleted from your mailbox. Your message from Dan Crouch is not available. To replay this message, press 1. My father sent my girlfriend a voicemail that didn't contain a message, but it was sent from him because his voice came up saying his name, exactly like his voicemail. I recorded that message through a video camera. Then my girlfriend deleted the message. Fast forward to 2017. Both my girlfriend and I were hanging out at my house. She was going through her voicemails again, and then it happened again. Exactly the same thing. My father's voice, but no message. Sweet dreams.